Hi guys, it's Liam here from Rating the Races, and today we're going to have a look at day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival of 2020 to have a look at the horses that we might be interested in going forwards, particularly in big races and even next season at the Cheltenham Festival. So the first race of the day was the Ballymore Novices Hurdle, which obviously Envoy LM won. He won it really impressively. He's now 2 from 2 as top rated at Cheltenham Festival, having won the champion bumper last year when top rated, and I think he's got everything. He's got stamina, he's got speed, he could drop back for an Arkle, he could go up for the RSA, they could skip that and go straight for a champion chase or a Gold Cup. I think he is the real deal, and he's going to be very, very hard to beat wherever he runs next season, but he's going to be priced accordingly in all of his races. He's 8 from 8. You're never going to get a big price on him unless he starts to disappoint next season. But from that race, he was definitely the one to take out. But as I said, it's pretty obvious. I think he'll be stepped up in distance for the 3-mile RSA, with the connections looking at the Gold Cup the year after that. I think he's absolutely class. But it's pretty obvious. So let's move on to the RSA, which was an amazing race. How incredible was that? If you didn't watch it, Minella Indo and Allaho were having a great battle up front. Jumping the last, the television cameras zoomed in on them, much to a lot of people's annoyance, and Champ looked to have been beaten off by the last fence. With no more than 100 yards to go, there was a gap between Minella Indo and Allaho, who was on the over the far side, and Champ came flying from nowhere to run through that gap and get up to win, and was actually going away at the finish. But I do wonder about him going forward still. He's beaten the horses, having not jumped great. Next season he's going to be in against seasoned campaigners over fences. I just wonder whether they might be a bit too good for him next season, and his mistakes will catch up on him. And I wouldn't be backing him for a Gold Cup at this present stage. The horse in that race who I would be interested in the Gold Cup was Minella Indo. I thought he was going to win it quite impressively, turning for home. Allaho was still pitching out front and going well, but Minella Indo travelled really well. Jumped the second last a lot better than Allaho, but made a complete mess of the last. At the last, making a mess is so difficult to pick up again from, and I thought he did really well to eventually hold off Allaho, but just get run down by Champ. If he jumps the last, I really do think he wins by 3 or 4 lengths. Champ will continue finishing, but yeah, I don't think Champ would have got close to Minella Indo if Minella Indo had jumped the last. I know the fences are there to be jumped, but I think next year he'll be stronger again. Minella Indo clearly likes Cheltenham, and he would be my selection from the RSA to follow. And I think the Gold Cup will be the plan, especially as they had Monolly run so well this year. I can see Minella Indo going even closer next year. All three of the front three are going to be Grade 1 winners next season. Allaho particularly back in Ireland. Possibly a drop-in trip. I don't think he was getting tired. I just thought the mistakes at the finish were his downfall. Champ will be running in England a lot for Nicky Henderson and probably picking up small races again like he did this year before turning up at the Cheltenham Festival next year. But yeah, as I said, if I was to pick one from that race, it'd be Minella Indo. So moving on to the next race, was the Choral Cup, which Dame de Compagnie won. Probably we won by about £2, I reckon. If you don't understand that reference, check out what happened with Dame de Compagnie after Indefatigable franked the form by winning at Warwick. But anyway, the horse I'd like from the Choral Cup would be Birchdale. He's not in the front 5, he actually finished 8th. But last season he was well fancied for the Albert Bartlett, but pulled up. And then this season he had just had the one run when he was third of 4 in a novice chase. He came here and was quietly fancied by a few people, and I thought ran a really interesting race, because he was held up so far off the pace, whilst quite a few of these who went close were all really prominent, and he was the only one, in my opinion, that made up a lot of ground from the rear of the field to not go close, but to run a really good race. He was given a good ride by Aidan Coleman, who did realise that he was stuck and was running into the back of horses, but he just then had to go wider than ideal, and just his effort to get from so far back to close cost him just that extra little bit of strength up the hill he required to get involved, really. And I was very interested to see what his handicap mark was going to do, and we've had a look, and he actually dropped a pound. That for me is really, really eye-catching. There's going to be races that he can win, but if Nicky Henderson decided to target this race with Birchdale, I'd be very, 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 very keen on him. If he came back next year off 145, having run okay in races but without setting the world alight, I'd be back in Birchdale. I really do think he was almost ridden as a just in case. But yeah, I think he's the one to take out that race, and as with all of these posts that are coming up, I'll put all of the horses at the bottom of the page or underneath this video so that you can add them to your NagMe and really quickly, and it's a great little tool that we have, this RTR NagMe. So let's move on to the Champion Chase. Well, what happened here? Defi Desoy has run an absolute stinker, and I felt it ended up being a poor Champion Chase, and I wouldn't be interested in any of these going forward against what I call proper Grade 1 Champion Chase potentials, other than Defi Desoy, who's clearly wasn't right. The horse I've added as my potential NagMe here is So Royale, but that's only if he starts to drop significantly in the handicap and they start aiming him at a handicap. If he continues running in Grade 1, Grade 2 races, I don't think he's good enough. But if he turned up 10, 12 pound lower for a potential run in a Grand Annual next year, he'd be interesting. So let's move on to the next race, which again is very unoriginal in the cross country. The one to add is Easy's Land. Easy's Land is only 6, and I can see him dominating this cross country for a few years now. He was the only one who could get anywhere close to and actually beat Tiger Roll, with the pair miles clear of the rest. They're going to have to turn up with a graded animal that is still in his prime, and not like a Might Bite who's gone at the game, unfortunately, but a really good horse to get anywhere close to Easy's Land next year, and I can see this one dominating cross-country races for a good few years now. So we'll move on to the Poodles Juvenile Handicap Hurdle, which Aramax won, having won the same race that Band of Outlaws won last year, before winning the Fred Winter, which is now the Poodles Juvenile Handicap. Next season, that angle is definitely going to be overbet, so be careful there. Whatever race Aramax and Band of Outlaws both won, whoever wins that, people will be smashing into it, for the Poodles Juvenile Handicap, and it'll be overbet, so that'll be one that I'll be actually steering clear of next year. The horse I like from this race, I thought, was Saint Deroux, who we had advised at a decent price, and he ran well. He hadn't really shown a great deal since coming over from France until the race before this Cheltenham Festival run, where he won really, really impressively, and he might have beaten nothing, but he did at least win, and he did win going away, and really, really impressively. I thought he ran a great race here. He looks like he's now maybe acclimatised, and he travelled nicely in a prominent position before just getting picked off late on. He did battle well, because he could have easily finished 4th or 5th, but he continued to battle, and I think a step up in trip will definitely suit him going forward. And he was the one I wanted to just add to my NagMe, just in case for next season. It's not a strong one, not like some of the previous ones like Birchdale, but he's definitely worth adding. The final race of the day was won by our top rated horse, Fernie Hollow, who actually beat RTR2 and Appreciate It, despite the Willie Mullins betting suggesting that it was the other way around, number 1 from number 2, and that actually makes it 2 top rated Cheveley Park winners in the Champion Bumper in the last 2 years. Who was the horse I felt was the one to take out of it? Appreciate It. If you watch the race back, Fernie Hollow, Queensbrook, Third Time Lucky and Escalade, who finished 1st, 3rd, 4th and 5th, were all towards the rear of the field, whilst Appreciate It was quite prominent for most of the race. And I think he's almost been beaten by the pace bias. They've gone too hard up front. Those being held up have really picked up strongly, and Appreciate It was in the wrong position. However, he still ran a really good race. He's battled well, and he's going to be, once he steps up in distance and goes over hurdles, I think he'll be even better, and in time over fences. Something like, I would be aiming for the Albert Bartlett, to be honest, with Appreciate It, the 3 mile. He might end up in the 2.5, the Ballymore, but I think he's a stayer, and I think he's a 3 mile chaser in the making. So to have finished 2nd in a Champion Bumper, I think that was a really good effort, and I wouldn't be knocking that form at all just because he got beat. Obviously, being beaten by top rated does frank the form, and it gives the form a stronger look. So they are my selections, or they are my horses to follow from day 2. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at RTRLiam, and you can follow Rating the Races on Twitter at Rating the Races, and hopefully we'll have lots more of these videos and podcasts available in the near future, especially whilst racing is currently not on due to the coronavirus outbreak. Any feedback, any suggestions on what you'd like us to discuss, get in contact. We love hearing from you all, and we hope that these can help us next season find a few more winners. Thanks very much for listening.